This is an overview of the psychology of groups. So as a warm-up, I would like for you to think of or list all the groups that you belong to. Groups that involve family, friends, peers, school, work, etc. We will discuss that tomorrow during our Zoom meeting. Social psychologists study groups, organizations, communities, even cultures. People are most often in groups with others, and this, of course, has huge impact on our thoughts, feelings, actions, and beliefs. The basic question of this module asks, what is the psychological significance of groups? Here's a quick overview of groups, what we will be discussing, psychological significance of groups, motivation and performance in group development. Then in a second presentation, we will talk about making decisions in groups. It was probably the most interesting part of groups, and finishing off with you and your groups. So, psychological significance of groups. The need to belong. Humans, all of us, have a need to belong. It's a universal need. It has been proven to be a need here in America, as well as in China and India and Bulgaria and all sorts of places. It is a universal need to belong. We want to be significant and belong in groups or be accepted amongst others. So humans have this universal need to belong, and to satisfy this, they join groups, they live with other people, or they interact socially. Groups help to meet our psychological and social needs. What's more, this need is universal, as I stated. When people belong, they're happier, they're more satisfied, they get more satisfaction out of life. When they are rejected, they feel unhappy, depressed, helpless. Ostracism is defined as being excluded or excluding one or more individuals from a group by reducing or eliminating contact. So you're in a group and all of a sudden they stop talking to you, or you have a member of a group that you're in and all of a sudden you notice that nobody is talking to them or about them. It's as if they're just gone. They have been ostracized. They no longer belong to the group. We ostracize people when we ignore them, we shun them, or we explicitly banish them from the group. fMRI, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging, so MRI of our brain, shows that when we are rejected, the same portions of our brain light up on the scan in the same areas as they do when we feel physical pain. So rejection is truly painful to us. It is as painful as if we break a leg. Still on psychological significance of groups, affiliation in groups. Groups provide members with social information, assistance, and social support. So Leon Festinger's theory of social comparison states that people join with others for one reason. Basically, we do it to evaluate the accuracy or the trueness, or to strengthen our own personal beliefs and attitudes. So if we have something that we're kind of on the fence about, or we're not exactly certain how strongly our belief in a thing is, so take politics, for example, or religion. You think that you're leaning one way, but you're not certain. We will often use this theory of social comparison to compare ourselves with those that are important to us. That's a very important part of it. that they are important to us. If our own opinion or value about something is unclear, we'll compare it to make certain it is acceptable to others, to form or strengthen our own opinion to one that is more acceptable. We will also measure ourselves, our personal selves, up to them. That downward social comparison, there's also there's upward and downward social comparison. So for upward social comparison, we will compare ourselves to those who are better than us. And rather than getting jealous, we will say, okay, they're better. How do I attain that level, or how do I meet this goal? How do I improve? Downward social comparison is when we look at those that are less fortunate, or that we are better in something. So if I'm like this amazing baseball player, I'm not. But say I was this amazing baseball player, and I know that Sarah over there is a slightly less amazing baseball player. I might look at her and be like, I'm a better baseball player, so I'm better than her. It helps boost our own self-esteem. That is downward social comparison. I posted a video about upward and downward social comparison you will want to watch. We are still on psychological significance of groups. Identity and membership. People define who they are by inherent qualities, so the qualities that are already inside of us. So we define ourselves by our personalities, or what we see about ourselves, as well as memberships in groups. So we identify with the groups that we belong to, and we allow those groups to we allow them to enhance or increase our sense of self-worth. So social identity theory assumes that groups influence their members' self-concepts and self-esteem, particularly when individuals categorize themselves as group members and when they identify with the group. We don't only classify others into groups, we classify ourselves into groups. So I would classify myself as a mom, a wife, a teacher, a friend. There's all sorts of groups you would classify yourselves, and you would find that just being part of that group helps to boost your self-esteem, especially if you think positive things regarding not only the group but the other members of the group. We start to describe ourselves with the characteristics and even the stereotypes of the group. So if I think of stereotypes of moms as caring and nurturing, whether I was that kind of mom or not, I would start to ascribe those characteristics to myself simply because I belong to the group. If we feel that we belong, our self-esteem will be strengthened. That's awesome. What happens if we feel like we don't belong in a group? So what if I get a whole bunch of my self-esteem from belonging? Okay, so I'm a personal trainer. What if I get a bunch of my self-esteem from belonging to this group of personal trainers? I train people and they love me, and so I gather all this self-esteem. I'm a good trainer. People really like me. Then all of a sudden, I'm not a personal trainer. I don't have that affirmation any longer, that all those contributors to my self-esteem are gone. That's one thing. What if I'm kicked out of being, it'd be hard to be kicked out of being a personal trainer. What if you're on the football team and for some, I don't know, moral reason or something, you are kicked off the team? Think of what that would do to your self-esteem. You would feel shamed, you would feel embarrassed. All those characteristics, however you felt about being a football player, would no longer You can no longer ascribe those to yourself. It would be missing a large part of what has made you you. Okay, moving on. Collective self-esteem. Feelings of self-worth that are based on evaluation of relationships with others and members in social groups. In other words, if we feel the esteem of the group is high, so it's a highly respected group, even if we take a personal setback in our own self-esteem, but we are still a member of the group, we can boost our own self-esteem with thoughts of our membership into the group. So just belonging to the group helps us kind of navigate that hit we took to our own personal self-esteem. It makes it not as bad. Sociometer theory is one of the prominent theories about the nature and function of self-esteem. It argues that self-esteem monitors the degree of social acceptance that we enjoy from our social circles, and it alerts us to any threats to that belonging that might arise. So if we feel threatened, if our self-esteem feels threatened within the group, we can sit down and say, okay, what do I need to do to contain this, to change this? I will post videos about those three. This one we are going to discuss on our Zoom. Let me see. I am going to stop this one right here.